Hello, beautiful souls. Now that we have been going over that process of moving from the old paradigm, the false matrix, into the new timeline, your heart, and the challenges we have there and the stickiness, I want to go over it maybe a little deeper today because in my experience, it's really a process. It's not something you just bump out of, although that will probably that does start happening more and more, but we still need to do that heavy lifting. At least that's how it's been for me. I don't know, things times are so different now than when I started out. We had my generation, we had to really, work through these cement walls inside of us, and it was intense for many, many years. It's a lot easier for me now, but there is still density that has not fully let go or softened or dissolved yet. But by taking the steps that I have talked a lot about, you can certainly look for them in my YouTube channel. There's many, many videos about, softening and self-love, huge, huge parts of this work. Because at the end, when you are flying off out of the false matrix, or the old density, I should say, the old paradigm, it's because you have realized that you are love and there is no way getting around that. So self-love is not just a little frou-frou thing you do to be cute or something. It's the core of the work. It really is. I didn't know that in the way I do it now when I started as a self-love mentor and I wrote my book, right? Imagine Being Kind to Yourself. You can find all that information in the description. But self-love was just something that was growing and growing in me as something that was really, really important. And now looking back, I'm more able to see, how that has informed me and expanded me and the clients that I work with, how that energy of self-love is literally unavoidable, but it's very hard in the beginning because it's so foreign to us. So if we don't do that work when we're still very caught in the matrix and start pulling ourselves out enough, even if it's just a millimeter where you go like, I want to be more loving to myself. I don't want to be so critical of myself. I don't want to hate myself. That is what I talked about the other day, right? That's the density on top of the density. So we need to soften that first. And you can go here to watch that video, which might be helpful if you haven't seen it yet. So you basically start creating more space more space between the pain that you've been holding on to, or the fear, or the whatever it is we all have. And there's suddenly more space. And in that space, you allow that space to fill up with love. Now, it happens naturally when you haven't cut yourself off from that love, but we have all cut ourselves off from it because that's been part of what has kept the false matrix alive, right? It's the false matrix includes not loving yourself. I think it's a really, it's worth taking a little pause here right now and take a breath and just realize that The reason you have not been able to love yourself is because you have been completely identified with, shall we say, the rules of the matrix, which is to not love yourself, to doubt yourself, to hate yourself, to judge yourself, criticize yourself, say you're not good enough, right? All the things that are part of the matrix. And that's why you can't just jump out of it. Everything is caught in there. So as we are adding more light, more love, more kindness, more softness, this density that is fully identified with the matrix. And then on top of that is that thing that keeps it there, right? That's also an important piece. It's almost like there's two important pieces on the process. There aren't really, but if we want to peel it apart a little bit, it's like you have your anger, your pain, your fear here, and then there is this thing that's resisting it to be felt and be released. There's a heavy duty resistance around all the contractions that we have. And also, if you have not read my book, Imagine Being Kind to Yourself, in the description below, I talk a lot about resistance because resistance is something we have to be able to meet in ourselves with love, with kindness, with allowing, making space for it, right? Here's the contraction, the pain, here's the resistance, trying to keep it there. So first we really need to address this until we can get to this. And like I said in the other video, this fist can become the holding of this and the allowing of this. Like now it's not contracted. Now it's like, yes, yes, honey. Yes, sweetheart. You can be free too. This is what I've been talking about the last several videos. And it's worth repeating because it's not something that's organic or natural for us to do that. What is organic, or it's not natural, but it's something we're used to, is just to keep it all in place. And when we do this, let the resistance go, change it into allowing, then this can start softening. And the more this softens, and that can be, again, can be a day, a week, a month, years, all depends on how much contraction and trauma and fear that's in there. There's also the fear to let it go, right? No, you have to stay. It's scary to feel this. It's all in there. And this is all matrix stuff. If you want to move out of the old paradigm or the false matrix and start coming into your heart, the new timeline, the new earth, new paradigm, this simply has to soften and be met. There's no way around it. But the more we do this, and this is kind of what I want to address, is the more we do this, and it is work. It's really work. You have to constantly be like willing to soften it, willing to meet it, willing to be kind and loving to all these parts until it becomes natural. And it will, but it only will do that if we practice it and practice it. So we basically practice our way out of not loving ourselves. We practice our way out of resisting who and what we are and our experiences. So the practice is that our willingness to feel, to soften, to be with gets much bigger and expansive, and the resistance against it is not being fed anymore. So it's going to just dissolve. It doesn't get the food it needs to stay engaged, right? As long as I'm willing to resist, I feed this resistance part of the matrix. When I say I don't want to do that anymore, it starves. It starves from lack of nourishment, of being engaged in. So now we are here, and this starts growing and growing. And in that sense, you're not really going into the new timeline. The new timeline, your heart, the portal to the divine, call it whatever you will, that is always here. It has always been here. And because you are now disengaging from these weird things called the false matrix that just dissolves and disappears when you don't feed it, now you start noticing that the love that you've been practicing, the kindness, the willingness, that's actually part of your true nature. So you're slipping out of the false sense of self into your true nature just by not engaging. Let's take a breath here for a moment. Take that in. Because who and what you are and who and what you want is already here. You can't force it, but by letting go of putting your attention of something that is only kept alive by your attention. So when you withdraw your attention, then you naturally notice, oh, I'm here. And love is here. It's actually simple. And that is the interesting thing. Like when you do the work and do the work and it's hard work, and then suddenly you notice like, oh, that's interesting. I'm actually here now. This is the new earth they're talking about. Oh, well, but it's right here. I'm here. So it's hard to describe. But if you can follow the process of letting go by using your true nature of love, by bringing love to the parts, to the resistance, say, you know what, sweetheart, take a break. I'm not going to feed you anymore. I'm going to take a break. And then this one can start flowering, which is the pain, the memories, trauma. And you keep bringing love to it. Keep bringing your loving attention to this instead of your resistant attention to this. And then little by little, the softening makes you realize, like, oh, what? I'm here. It's here. Love is here. And I'm not interested in resisting anymore. And then the parts of us that are still left inside, the contractions, they might just be physical. It just the body has been holding these patterns for so long, and some of them may just not have released yet. Could be that there is still some trauma in there that has not been released yet. But now we're just like, oh, yes, yes, I want you to be free too. Yes, you too. Yes, let me breathe into you too, to my legs, to my belly, to my neck, to my jaw, whatever, my shoulders. And then you keep bringing more of what we can now call the new timeline or the new paradigm. You realize, but it was always here. Nothing is different. It's just me that's not putting all my attention on something that I really don't like. And then we meet here. Then we are in that field that Rumi talks about. He says, beyond right doing and wrongdoing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. I think that's how the saying goes. Beyond right doing and wrongdoing, right and wrong, duality, false matrix, right? Beyond that, leave it behind and start focusing on the field. And let's meet here. Now we are in the new paradigm. We are entering into the new earth, and we don't even know a lot about it yet, but we have left this. We're at the portal. We may have moved through it. And now we can start opening up to receiving and becoming and expanding and experiencing more and more about what that is. And I think many of us are right at the portal, right inside a portal. Maybe we still go in and out, but we know it's here and we know how to be here by not engaging in that. If we still need to do some engaging so we don't do the spiritual bypass, we go and deal with that in whatever way, in whatever way. Could be many ways: breath work, body work, coaching, self-love practice, whatever it is. That's something that comes naturally. It's like, oh, I need to do this. This part is still sticky. So let me just go and be with that. But I'm not going to leave the portal. I'm not going to leave the new timeline. I'm just bringing the energy to that so that can also come here and be present with all of us. So here we go, my friends. We're moving. Let's keep moving into that new timeline and not get too identified if there are still parts of us that are not fully liberated yet. Okay, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share. Do you know other people who are in this process right now and maybe not quite understanding it, where this might help them to clarify things and to maybe let go a little more? Please share that. Please comment. Let me know, what are your sticking points still? What is it that keeps pulling you back to the old? Or what is it like to be in the new? Can we just enjoy the new without being too identified with the old anymore? Isn't that fun?